T is an acronym for time, expectations, and access. What I find in my work personally and professionally, if there's something between who we are and what we want, if there are barriers in our lives, it usually falls into one of those three categories: time, expectations, and access. When it comes to time, I talk with folks about how does your relationship with time impact your life and the decisions that you make. So for some folks, they feel like they don't have enough time, right? How many people have said there is not enough time in the day? I'm one of those people. Other people feel like they have too much time on their hands. And what's interesting with both is they both impact how we make decisions in our life. I tend to hold the radical belief that I have all the time that I need to do what is necessary. I may not have all the time to do what I want, but I do have all the time that I need to do what's necessary. For those people who feel like they have too much time on their hands, folks can often feel undirected, unstructured, just out there free flowing and unsure of how to focus and move forward. The other thing that I talk about when it comes to time is how we tend to lose time. How we tend to lose time. Every single person has a way that they lose time. You might lose time by scrolling, by snapping, by sharing, by spinning. Spinning is what I call that tendency to overthink and spend so much time in your head, you're not doing the thing that needs to be done. But being able to look at our relationship with time and being able to look at how we lose time can help us be more intentional about it. With expectations, I have conversations with folks and we talk about what are your expectations of yourself? What are your expectations of others? What is your expectation of life or the world? Expectations are not inherently bad. And when they go unexamined, they can absolutely do a lot of damage in our lives and in our relationships. What are your expectations of you? What are your expectations of other people? What do you expect out of life? Do you expect life to be hard and a struggle? Do you expect others to save you or to let you down? Are those expectations flexible when you learn more information, or are they fairly rigid? And how do those expectations serve you? When it comes to access, we have conversations about the three parts of access. One, do you have the thing? Two, can you use the thing? And three, are you benefiting from the thing? All three parts have to be present in order for us to have access to whatever that thing is that we need access to. And access can be something that's tangible, like food. Do you have access to food and to nutritious food? If you don't have access to that thing, how do you get access to it? If food is something that I don't have the access that I need to it, and someone gives me a list of food pantries, for example, I may now have access to it, but can I use it? If transportation is a problem and I can't get to the pantry, I can't use it. Therefore, my access is restricted. Maybe I have access to a food pantry. Maybe I have a way to get to the food pantry, but what the food pantry is offering isn't nutritious or it's not actually meeting my needs. So that third piece is missing. I have access through the pantry. I have access to get to the pantry to use that, but I'm not benefiting from it in the way that I really need to be made whole. I use a concrete example like food, and then I lead into talking about something that's not so concrete, like emotions and our ability to manage them, to regulate them, to feel them, to actually have emotional intelligence. How many people have ever said, I'm using this coping skill or I'm doing this thing that usually helps me and it is not helping me right now. Think about that from an access standpoint. You might have some skills to manage your emotions, but maybe in critical times you struggle with using them. That's an access issue. Maybe you have the skills and you can use them, but during intense times, they don't seem to be benefiting from you don't seem to be benefiting from it. That's an access issue. And there's so many ways that our time and our expectations and our access impacts how we interact with ourselves, how we interact with other people, and how we interact with the world around us. So, in my Spill the Tea spaces, and truly in most of my spaces, we look at things through this lens. Is it an issue of time, expectations, and access? And how we fit into each parts of those so that we can actually live the life that we desire, so that we can actually have access to what we need in the way that we need it. How can I shift my relationship with time in order to feel more expansive within my day and within my life? How can I shift or deepen into my expectations to allow them to change when I get information that does not align or doesn't make sense? How can I shift expectations to support the boundaries that I need to set in my life? And how can I get access to the things that I need from the tangible to the intangible so that I can feel like I have the capacity, I have the resources, I have the energy that I need to not only go through life, but to live it and to live it well? That's a brief overview of the T. Consider how you can use that framework and that information to reflect on your life, to identify places that maybe you have an opportunity to grow, maybe you have an opportunity to deepen your awareness into. It's not about being able to focus on all three parts of T. You don't have to do a mad sweep of time expectations and access. What you can do is consider each of those parts and then really take a look at where are you with it right now. For some people who come into the space, their focus is time. For others who come into the space, the focus is expectations. For another person, the focus may be access. For someone else, you may not know where you are in it. So I always encourage folks to just sit with it and see what shows up, what floats to the surface as the piece that could use your attention right now. Believe it or not, we do not have to change every aspect of our lives or even most aspects of our lives in order to feel relief and to feel more connected and to be able to feel more joy. Most times it's as simple as moving as slow as you need to. Most times it's as simple as taking that one piece and just pulling that thread and trusting that the rest will unravel as it needs to. Where would you like to start?